Hello, my trading friends. How are you this weekend? It is Saturday, October 17th, coming at you with another video here. Exciting, exciting. It's always an exciting time, right? You don't have the past, you don't have the future, you have now, and now is a very exciting time to be in the markets. We've got um, great income from this year. If you've been on top of things, you've been following my videos. There's been some amazing trades. I'll follow up on a few of them. Um, a lot of them are looking really, really solid, and also we'll talk about what's going to happen next, what the charts are telling us, and where we should be positioning to in order to continue to make income as well as increase our wealth with our longer term trading. So let's get cracking here with the QQQ. You'll see here up on the upper left again, I go over this every week in case you're new to the channel. Daily chart on the left up here, the weekly, the 60-minute on the lower. So basically the highest time frame is the weekly on the upper right, then the daily on the upper left, then the 60 on the lower left, and the 15-minute on the lower right. And again, I'll talk about day trading ideas from time to time here, but most of this is swing trade, longer term stuff, whether it's a few weeks holding period, few days, few weeks, up to months, depending on the setups. And you obviously use, if you're going to hold months, you want to look more at a weekly type of chart. Whereas if you're swing trading, 5 days, 5 business days, to 10 to 15 to 20, then the daily chart can really help you out there. And then X-rays down to the 60 and 15 to look closer at the charts to try to refine your entries and get as much juice as you can out of each trade. So what do we got the Qs telling us here on these charts? Well, let's start a broad sense. The weekly chart, okay? We had the sell-off we all know about if you've been around. And we had the subsequent move up with really out any sort of slowdown here on the weekly. I mean, if you look on the weekly chart, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red-bodied candles out of, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, probably 20 green candles and wide width green candles in a lot of cases. You've got some dojis here and there, some tails, whippiness, but overall, really no corrections until this last pullback here in around Labor Day. Here, you'll see on the daily chart, if we move over here, this little cup here is what is forming here on the daily. Now, remember, the election in the U.S. here is happening in literally 2 weeks, basically. Um, 3 weeks, actually. 2.5 weeks. Okay, so that obviously does not mean that on November 3rd, November 4th, we're going to have a distinct announced winner that's going to be the um, president of the United States. It could take a few days to sort out all the voting, could take weeks, but the market will be volatile. This is going to be a great time to trade if you're on top of your game and you're trading technically and not fundamentally. I mean, fundamentally is important too from a longer term perspective, but a lot of times when these sort of volatile things happen, like elections, um, crazy reports, large force majeure type things around the world, the fundamentals get thrown out the door and you can get hurt really bad thinking you're going to hold on to something. It's the technicals that are going to get you in and out at a smarter level. So you may be bullish on, for example, Peloton is one I've been holding forever. I think I bought that originally at $35 a share and talked about it in videos about that and the subsequent entries going on from that point on, and it's at 100. I think it kissed 100. We'll pull up here in a little bit. 130, 140. So you may be bullish fundamentally on something like that or Zoom, but there are optimal times to get in and not so optimal times to get in, as well as selling into strength, and I'll talk about that as well. So, and obviously, if you haven't had a chance to see the videos below my 10 course series, definitely check those out. It kind of runs through the gamut of soup to nuts, certain patterns to look for, candlestick analysis. Basic candlestick analysis I don't talk about because I figure anyone can get a book on that, opens and closes and that sort of thing. But what I talk about more is like setups and of course trade management, that sort of thing. So Qs, what we're seeing here, what I'm seeing here is a pullback to the rising moving edge on the weekly. You'll see it here on the daily. It held itself. You'll see the volume came down. The volume sell-off here was a lot of profit taking. The volume picked up. And then it came down, it made a lower low, and then a higher low. So you can look at almost like a little inverse head and shoulders here. Broke out, and now it's pulling back. And if you look at it, if we back up for a second and we look at this, this looks like a cup and a handle forming. Okay? Volume is fairly light in the handle. We had kind of a red day here, and if you look, we're up 4 weeks off the bottom. So I would be surprised if we just start shooting up. I think we'll have a little bit more downside here, but look for this to hold support at 280 on the Qs. This is your first cup and handle setup after a massive move up. Okay, then this massive move up again is coming after a monthly, a massive move up over the last several years actually. So um, I'd be remiss to say that this wasn't long in the tooth, but you just got to follow the charts, and that's why we have stops. So if something sets up and hits, and you get in, and it turns around and stops you out, get out. I'm in a really big winning trade right now. Well, not big winning, but a winning trade, looking really good. That I was actually in, got stopped out, and then got back in on. And I talked about that in the last few videos too. So we'll touch on that too. So where's my general approach on this? Right now, this trend's still up. Okay, lean on the long side. If you're going to err on the long side. Don't err trying to call tops because you'll get your rear end handed to you. You get cut to pieces on stuff like that if you don't know what you're doing. I do love to do a climactic sell setup once a week if I can find one. Find something that's stupid overbought and short it. I even shorted Peloton, and I own it long, but I shorted it intraday because I saw the opportunity there on the intraday chart. Okay. So you can make good money shorting stuff that you're long on longer term, just playing the game, playing the different time frames, and understanding um, and having the open mindset to do something like that to take advantage. Because it's just about making money. It's about making money. It's about buying low, selling high, buying low, and following your plan. So on this, looking for another, continuation of this handle. If it gets too deep and gets down in the support area, then I'm not interested. Then this is looking more like a double top to me, and by then, obviously, the election will be kind of coming to the forefront, and I think all bets are off. I think technically the patterns can fall apart quickly in wild gyrations and news that is forthcoming. But on the smaller time frames, that's when you can X-ray down and really play what's going on the smaller time frames. So overall, still bullish on the Qs. I exited my position that I had long on this gap up day here. It was a beautiful gap up. It was up near the resistance of $300 a share. So I'm flat now on my setup, but waiting for the handle and a breakout, and I'll buy it above the 300 mark if we get the setup. Buy back in. But I took profits off this nice move off the 265 area where I got in on the Qs. On the SPYs, SPY, type it in, there it is. Similar situation, right? A little bit more of a struggle here as opposed to on the Qs, if you recall, on this move up off these March lows. And another cup type setting up here, a little bit more steep and deep. Back up, you got the handle. You got a lot of gaps here in the different days. But again, if it can hold this handle area, looking for a breakout above 355 on the SPYs. Once again, first real cup and handle correction on this entire weekly chart off the March lows. So definitely buyable if you get the setup. But again, it's a little bit more. What I find is during these very newsy times where we've got all these geopolitical things going on, especially here in the U.S. With the election, a lot of the patterns can get blown up, meaning their significance falls apart when something comes up that's unexpected. But in general, the charts are the footprints of money. So people that know stuff, inside stuff, stuff that's going on, have a really good clue as to who's going to win the election, what that means for the economy, and what that means for the markets. They're placing their bets. So you're seeing those bets here. Okay, you're seeing them on the weekly chart, you're seeing them on the daily chart, and the rest of the time charts. You're seeing it. Okay, so the charts are the king. They're likely what this is setting up is a continuation move, but the only thing that's holding me back is some crazy news that comes out, or the fact that we are multi years up in a row without a whole lot of hesitation, except for, of course, this one here in March, which was a really good cleanse and can reset the base count, meaning this cleanse may have cleaned out a lot of those people. And surely this first cup and handle base after a cleanse like this, even though it's been a multi-year move, makes it something I'm willing to buy into if it sets up. So that's what I'm watching here. All right, let's take a quick look through some ideas. Pins, I've been in this. It's too late to add to it now. I'm still own it. In fact, I've been adding to the position. Bought it in here, bought more here, and riding it up. And looking to buy more if I get a longer base here over 45. Not looking to sell any of this. I think pins is going higher. So watch this pins. KTOS. This is another one I mentioned. I bought the breakout here, and I got stopped out here. So this is a perfect one. I bought the breakout, got stopped out, and then when it gapped up here, I bought back in. And now I own it in here. Now, again, I'm back. I'm not quite up to where I was here, but I bought it cheaper. I bought it back cheaper after getting stopped out. This is what I'm talking about. You get stopped out, you take your stops. It took out my pivot. I got out. It settled in, bottoming tailed out, held up, popped back up. I'm back in because I like this overall time frame. It looks higher to me. It looks like it's trying to break out of these highs around 22, and if it can break that high, then I think it's off to the races on KTOS. So KTOS is one I'm back in, and it looks higher, but right now you're looking for more of a longer base here, and the add position for me and a possible initiation buy would be the $21.75, $22 area to be safe. Make it break the high of the stopping tail here at 22 and change. Let's see what that was here. 22.26 is the high. So look for it to break that high before you get in, and I'm looking to buy more as it breaks out of this handle it's forming here on the daily chart. Man, what a run it's been on this one. And again, I'm still holding 90% of my position. But even the 10%, it was just amazing that I've sold into. It's been great profits. You'll see an uptrend here, unmistakable on the weekly. As I mentioned, when it pulled back here, you can see the blue line from my video many videos ago when it was in this area. And I said, buying it here in the low fours is a smart idea, people. And of course, I bought hand over fist here in this area. This pullback popped up, came down here, gave another entry here, and then boom, it's been off the races. And as I talked about in the last couple of videos, my target is 6. I'm selling some at 6, but I'm holding most to go higher. I think this thing's going to 8 with my extrapolation of this move off the pivot to the next move. $7.50 to $8 a share is the next stop for a good chunk of my shares. So I'm going to probably dump more like a third if I can get up to that $7.50 mark. Is looking good right now in the daily. There's no, if you don't own this, do not buy it. It's not in a buyable area, okay? Even though I'm talking about it going up another $1.50, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, and you can't just get in because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen, right? And you've got to have a stop. You've got to have a legitimate place to get in. If you get in here now at 6:30, then legitimately your stop is going to have to be way down here at 4:20, and that's just not worth that risk is not worth the reward of $1.70. Does that make sense? So what am I going to do? Well, if this thing comes back into the 6 area here, what was resistance becomes support. So if it comes back there, I might buy back those shares I sold at 6 when it broke through the first time because I think this thing's trending higher. Now, again, I'm a little bit more lax on the shares because A, this is thin. B, we are in a uncertain time with the election coming up. But this thing looks higher. Congratulations, you guys have been in this, holding it with me, taking profits, buying back, and just playing the game. This thing looks higher. Stay with Genesis. It's a Mack truck, I think, going higher. All right, Fold is another one I bought and stopped out of. I bought it here on the weekly. See it here? I bought it here, right here, where my arrow is. And when it took out 14, I sold it. And then what happened? It went down to 13, bottoming tailed, tried to go down again, couldn't do it. Tried to break out, tried to go down again, couldn't do it. Third time's a charm for me. Bam, I'm buying there. $13.50 a share. Bought it. So I bought it up here at 15.5, sold it at 14 for a loss. Bought back in at 13.5, and now she's ripping. And she's looking good. Sky's the limit with Fold. Again, if you're not in this, there's no buying set up here. You're chasing it. Don't chase it. We had a high volume day with a topping tail, so we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get a base out here at 17, and you and I can add to the position. Or I can add to the position. You can initiate one. But right now, no entry. This thing looks good. Fold is another example of where you get in. It stops you out. Take your stops, but get back in. What are commissions cost nowadays? Nothing, right? Get out, get back in. Ain't no big deal. OIIM. I introduced this for the first time, I think, in the last video, or I think it was the one before the last one. And I talked about this here. Go back to the videos. I'm not going to re-explain it here, but I talked about how this is a beautiful setup for higher prices. And I bought this, and I bought a lot of it actually, and it's just rolling. It's rolling. Okay, now I sold a great deal of mine into this massive move up. Okay, but I'm still holding a third of a position here now. At this point in this area, and I'm looking for another setup to go higher. And I'm not selling that third. It's going to come all the way back down and stop me out, okay, at this point, since I'm in the gravy on 2/3 of my position on a percentage basis is massive. This one is looking good. Hope you guys got on this with me. It was a gift. It was just a beautiful setup. And now on the same terms, window, which is much more thin, so be careful. And notice on OIM, notice how when we had this big move up here, it closed up here. Even though we had this big topping tail, it closed up here near the high. So window is not quite as juicy as this one because you'll see the big topping tail, and then it's kind of just working its way down. And then you had the shakeout here on the daily chart. Now notice it is really thin, 37,000 shares on Friday. Okay, so be aware of that. I wouldn't suggest you're not buying 30,000 shares of this, for example. Um, it pops up, topping tail here, now it's holding this area. It's really, really finding support in this $3 area. Okay. Now if it falls back down here to the 250, I'm out. I'm gonna liquidate it. But right now, this is very much like that OIM where you get the big volume spikes and then a consolidation. Although this one's not quite as pretty to me technically as the OIM was. I think this is going to do something similar to OIM, and I'm in this right now as we speak. Own it. I actually bought more when it dropped down here to 3, and my stop is going to be down here in about the 264. You can see is the flat moving average here. That's going to be about my area for the stop on my shares of this thing if it were to fall down there. But remember, don't buy too much. This could be a Roach Motel because of the volume. If, for example, you owe 37,000 shares of this and it drops down to your stop and you're trying to unload those shares, good luck on getting your price. You're going to be paying. You're going to be paying down. You're going to be chasing those bids down, and you're going to probably take a whooping on that that slippage. So be aware of that. All right, I've been in and out of the pot stocks a lot. This pot stock, Tilray, I bought in again here at 5. I noticed the bottom happening. I'm in this. I'm looking to add my position on this pullback if I get it. I like what I'm seeing here. It looks like it's trying to bottom. I like the volume spike, but I'll see a lot of times where these volume spikes will come in, right, like right here, and then it'll come down and clip. Right? So say you did the same thing here and got in here, well then it came down and would have stopped you out eventually. This could happen again. We may get a more massive time frame double bottom where it'll come down and re-challenge this low that was set in here back in March when the COVID thing was at or the market crash due to the COVID thing was at its peak, or actually at its valley, if you will. So watching this, but I own Tilray. Watch it for another entry. I just bought into CGC. Love what I see here on this massive move up. It did make a new high. It's pulling back here. It's kind of giving you a flag setup. Watch to buy this. I jumped the gun here at $18 a share. I think this thing is going to go higher. My stop though is right on this bottom. I'm keeping it real tight. Okay, and what I'll do is just like the KTOS and just like the fold. If it stops me out, I'll get out and look to get back in. I like the volume drying up on the flag off the massive move. There's the flagpole. There's your flag setting up. Obviously, if you draw the lines, any break over 1850, I may add to the position. Okay, I didn't buy a full position at 18 because I was front running the flag setup, actually triggering. But I bought into it, and I'm looking to add into the position to make it a whole position if it actually triggers the flag and goes. And again, if it breaks under my 1730 area, I'm out. I'm outro, and I'm looking to get back in if I get my setup. All right, goldies and silvers. Like I said, if you followed my videos, I liquidated everything. Sold it all, took all the massive profits, basically put a big pile of cash in my office and rolled around in it. Just kidding, I didn't do that. But I did make a lot of money off of it, and now I'm looking at right now getting back in. In fact, I took a nibble into wheat and precious metals, one of my favorites. The two strongest ones I think in this group is this one, WPM. This is the one you got to own if you're gonna get in, and AEM. So I nibbled into both of these last week. And just, like I said, small quarter positions because I'm not sure that we're going to go here and I want confirmation. So if wheat and precious metals can break above 52, I'll be adding in another piece of my position off this little consolidation slash double tap where it flushed out this base here and it's holding at the rising moving average. Obviously in an uptrend on the weekly, a beautiful uptrend on the weekly, and the daily chart is starting to roll over, but it's just been more sideways literally since August. It's been pretty much just in a slow drain to the downside. AEM, let's go back to that one. Same thing. Notice the strength here. It's up here near the highs. You got obviously a possible head and shoulders forming, which could be bad for this thing as it goes down. But again, uptrend on the weekly chart, rising moving averages, showing more relative strength to others. For example, take a look at gold. Okay, so notice how gold is a little weaker. This is the one that Buffett's crew bought, but it's not looking as good technically to me than the other two. So those are the other two that I'll buy first before I buy this one, although I did own this one for a time. Newmont's another one, big winner. You can see it's a little bit more weak here on the weekly. Holding this area. Again, buyable if it breaks above $65 a share. You've got a firm stop there at about $59 a share. Newmont looks pretty good. Let's take a look at the GLD. GLD here holding very similar patterns right in a lot of these cases. Look for a break above these highs around 181, stop around 174-ish. GDX, very, again, similar, right? Just kind of holding this lower low, hugging that rising moving average on these weekly charts. So watch these goldies. And like I said, I just started nibbling back in on Wheaton Precious and Agnico, I think is what you call it. Agnico Eagle. Yeah, Agnico Eagle Mines Limited. This is another one that I'm eyeing up here, Grow Generation Corporation. You can see it came down and kind of gave you a big topping tail and a setup here, but it's just kind of grinding and overlappy. So I'm not in this yet, but I got a little bit of a pivot here I'm working with on the daily. We get a slingshot here and the market looks strong. I think a buy over 18. And a tight stop, but high odds of getting stopped out is around the 16 area if you wanted to. I'm not a big fan of doing these tight ones on something that's whippy anyway, and it's literally disrespecting the previous pivots on a regular basis. So it shows you that it doesn't have a lot of respect for its pivots on a daily chart. So that being the case, if I decide to leg in at 18, it'll be a quarter position, a third of a position, just kind of a scalp position to get it in there, get it on radar, because I think this is uptrending. This thing looks higher, so keep this one on watch for the next several weeks and months. Booz Allen here looks pretty nice. Uptrend on the daily, you'll see a pullback here to minor support, right? Previous resistance has become support now. You got a double tap here where it took out this low and it's kind of grinding. Entertain it on a weekly buy. Buy it over the $83 area range. Stop it under 80. You get about a $3 stop. I think this thing looks higher. It looks like it wants to make another move. Booz Allen is definitely worth watching. A couple more here to go through. Churchill Downs. I like this stock a lot. It's been strong. It's been a great producer over many years. Had the massive sell-off here with the COVID. Obviously came up, back up to a new high. You can see it setting up here again. Kind of a really loose type of, what do you call it? Kind of like a fake down, back up, where it comes down hard here, sets a pivot up here at the rising moving average, comes up. I'd love to see a base, maybe a drifting base at the 180 mark, and then you look for a breakout over 180 for us to continue to go higher. This one looks solid, looks higher. Again, a little sloppy, and realize these are $10 days, $7 to $8 candles. So realize you may want to just do one share of it, 10 shares of it, 100 shares, depending on what your financial situation is. But it's always got to make sense from a reward to risk perspective. It doesn't matter about dollars and cents. It's reward to risk. Remember that. Oh, last but not least, Peloton, which I still own. I've sold into the strength. I do have probably about a 25% full position now. I've sold into strength, but I still own, like I said, a quarter of a normal position. So I've taken profits, and I'm looking to buy back those shares. Doesn't look like I'm going to get a chance soon, but I tell you what, Monday, this is on my top short list for day trades. It looks very climactic here. You got a multi move up. Volume picked up. Now, again, it's not like this volume here was. You can see it here. This is definitely higher than the most recent days. So it's not quite climactic, but definitely I'm the strongest suggestion. You do not buy this here. As you can buy it to day trade it, but I wouldn't buy it to hold it overnight. You wake up with a nasty gap down. When it's gone this far, the chances of it selling off, and for some of those bigger shareholders to try to bank some money, especially if the election goes a certain way and certain taxes are going to be coming in, people may start unloading some of these massive winners, and you may get more pullback. And I like this right now, just generally speaking. I won't be buying back any shares unless I get a pullback to about 100. And that's kind of hard for some people. They think, wow, if it's at 130 and it goes back to 100, why are you buying at 100? They think from the perspective of that the thing's going down, but that's where support is. So even if it comes down to 120, unless it gives it, time is the other thing that equalizes things. So if it comes down to 120 and hangs there for a while, showing support, then I may buy more at 120. But right now there's no pattern. We're extended up. If anything, I'm looking to short this on Monday on a day trade perspective. You can see the nice short opportunity here on the 15-minute chart where it came down and just basically busted right through this support area. Now, I, of course, took most of my profits at support. And in hindsight, I could have made a lot more if I'd held it all even longer. But I didn't. But I was able. I didn't. As I typically do, is I don't sell or I don't cover all of it. I rode the last piece, the last quarter down, another couple bucks, and then bailed on it. But I think this is going to have another shorting opportunity. If not Monday, it'll be during this week, especially if we get some sort of major gap up in the markets and they start pushing. Don't be one of those suckers buying on something after a run like this. No matter how much you love Peloton, no matter if you own it or actually own a bike and love it. I know a lot of people that do. Do not buy this here long term. It's way too extended would be my suggestion. All right, guys, with that, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you find these ideas useful. Trade well, trade to your plan. Remember, this is a great opportunity. You know, no matter what happens in the past, right now is the opportunity. There's so much going on right now. You can make a great income as well as build your wealth in this current market environment. Just be on top of your game, follow your plan, and get it done. Have a great trading week. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll holler at you next time.